Good evening, friends. Welcome back. Barbara Pask here in Ohio, going to paint for you on a little 6x6 tonight. I set up a still life. Let me swing you around and show you. Hopefully I can get you back where I've got you. It's always a tricky part. I have a shaving mug and a shaving brush over there. It's an old antique shaving mug and brush that I bought at an antique mall not too long ago. Pretty sweet. There, that's a better view of it. I really like the brush, and the mug is, I think, a Nissan. Is that the name? A Japanese antique. It's kind of an unusual shape on the top. We'll see if we can make that work. I am purposely not really looking down into it this time because it's got one of those dividers inside, you know, where they would get inside and I guess with the soap, and I don't know, I just felt like that wouldn't read right. So this is a decision I made to really kind of just look across it. So again, this is a 6x6. I feel like you could be down just a tiny bit. Let me adjust you just a little. I apologize. I thought I had you where I wanted you, but that looks a little better. You're not exactly in front of it. You're a little to my left, but we'll move you over at the end. Now you're a little low. How's that? All right. We'll spend a little time sketching it on. I have my view catcher here. I've been using, I have that thing by EZ-L that's kind of, it's clear with the grid on it. It has a dry, kind of a marker comes with it. And I've been using that more outside. It's bigger. I kind of like it. But I have this tonight, which is, turn it around so you can read it. It's a view catcher. And you can open it up. There are some measurements on it if you've never seen one. To me, this or some version of this is an absolute must if you're going to work for life, if you're going to paint outside or even do a still life, because you need to figure out your composition before you start, and especially if you're outside, it's just overwhelming. So we're going to take some ultramarine blue and some transparent red oxide. That's my darkest dark I can make, and I've got a fairly small long handle brush to sketch with. All right, we're going to look through there and try to set things up. Now, to get the width that I need, I have probably more negative vertical and space above and below it than I might like. But that's the way it is. I think that's the way it's got to be, because I don't feel like I want to really cut the objects off. And I always have to think, if you were going to frame this, you would cut into the canvas a little bit. So I either want to run stuff completely off. I don't want to just stop it just short. So I got to think about that too. So, maybe a 5x7 would have been a better. So anyway, let's just do it and see what we get. I'm going to bring the mug handle about there. And again, I've got more negative space above and below it than I would like. That's about the height of the mug. And the bottom, I think, is about there. And the edge of the brush, kind of about the same kind of deal. It's about over in there. Now let's see where the left side, that's the handle, about where the handle's going. And the left side of the mug, it's pretty far over. I think it's about in there. And the brush is coming, looks like about over onto the mug, about that far. So it's all, we got to start someplace. I always say that, and you don't know if you're wrong until you put it down. And So again, we can just see into the edge of that, and it has this unusual kind of scalloped top on it, which in the end we may not like, and we may end up just rounding it off. I just don't know at this point. Let me measure how far in the mug comes, you know, minus the handle. Not too far, I think about there. I'm thinking from years ago when I used to watch Helen Van Wyck, I'm thinking she would do things and then add the handle later, if I remember right. All right, this kind of curves in a little bit. It's kind of got that shape to it on both sides. Maybe not to that extreme, but just to give you an idea, it kind of curves out. And it's got the pattern on it, and a couple of like ridges, and there's a little shadow behind each of those ridges, so we'll put that dark in there that I see. Hope everybody's doing well. I've been really busy. The weather's a little bit cool here for June. You know me, I get out and paint as much as I can, but I did Saturday. Saturday morning was pretty and sunny, and I did get out and paint on the street here in town. Painted a really cute greenhouse. Greens are fun. And I think she's going to buy it. All right, I'm looking at the hole inside of the handle, the negative space, to help me. Like how far from here to here do I see? You know, use those negative spaces to help you get your drawing. And again, this is a kind of weird handle too. We'll have to see. You know, it's got this part, and then it's got a little scallop thing here, and another one here. You know, it has to feel good and it has to read correctly. If it means in the end making some changes, I will. You know, I don't object to that. The brush comes over to about here. I like the brush. Well, I like the mug too. It goes down. Let me get a little moisture on this. I've got some solvent-free liquid here that I'm using. They make the gel, they make the liquid. A friend of mine that I paint with just got back from New York. They do that paint out every year in the Adirondacks. You may be familiar with it. It's on my bucket list. I would like to go sometime. Eric Rhodes, who puts Plein Air magazine out, puts it together, and you go up and you stay at a college, and your meals are included, and they give you all these different locations of places you might paint. Let me think what I'm doing here. And they have like A and B, group A and B. They kind of divide you up, I think. There's no instruction. There's no workshops. It's all just artists getting together and painting. And if you're more advanced maybe, or you feel you can like hike in further, there's like option A and B. So if you're a little more fit and you can backpack in, you might go to one place. If you need something a little easier, there's another, you know, you might go someplace different. But it sounded really like he had a good time. He brought home, he shared his work with us. He brought home, at least a dozen paintings. And he signed up for next year, so that's telling. the fact that he felt that good about it. Again, it's something I'd like to do. It's on my bucket list. And my husband, you know, he's always saying, I'll take you. Trouble with that is, you know, I wouldn't have a car. If he dropped me off, I'd be there at the college, and, you know, I'd either have to try to hitch rides with other people, and if I wasn't such a wimp, I'd drive myself up there, right? He said it's a good 12.5-hour drive without stops, so, you know, it's a long way. I don't want to jump into this till I feel I've got these proportions right. Okay, let me look at this mug. I'm feeling almost like it could be. I'm feeling almost like it could come down a little more, and if it does, then the brush needs to. The brush tapers back up, and then it gets dark. And then it's got this piece, and then the handle is a little wider back in here. Starting to feel a little monstrous, I know. I'll have to bring this down. But I want to feel, let's get our little scraping tool out too, our little rubber, looks like a brush, but it's a scraper. I really like this thing. You know, I don't want to get so much paint on here that I'm fighting it. All right, let's look at this. Yeah, today, usually on Tuesday, I go out and paint with a group, and I think some of them did go out. I did not go out because, well, it was cloudy, and actually I don't think it did rain. It's rain, just sprinkled a little bit here today. But you know, I really love the sunshine. It's makes such a difference. The scene is just completely different with the sun on it. And, you know, not to sound picky, there's always something to paint, but I wasn't in love with the location they chose either. You want to be excited, you know. All right, let's rinse this brush out a little bit. I think that's enough information. I did run the handle off, as you can see. I don't think it'll matter. I don't think it's the most important element. The mug, I think, is more important, but I like the bristles of the brush a lot. Just the crazy things that catch your eye, right? So I'm going to work with a little flat brush, a little soft. It's just a cheap brush, but it's a soft brush. I use the Rosemary & Company a lot, but I've been using these too, and enjoying the softer brush sometimes. So we're going to mix up. The mug is just a kind of creamy, slightly off-white kind of color. So for the body of it, I'm going to mix up like I usually do. I'm going to mix up 3 values. So we'll start with the lightest mixture, and I'll pull some of that out. And down at the bottom, I've got a nice shadow from the brush. That's going to be, of course, our darkest area on the mug. By using all the same mixture, you know, the initial mixture, like, okay, if you put a shadow on something, you still have to think about the fact that what is the shadow laying on, you know. I'm not saying it wouldn't work to just mix purple and lay purple in. It probably still would feel like a shadow, but I think you always need to consider that what's the shadow on, you know what I mean? What object is it on? All right, so I'm making 3 values. Just always a good way to start. And I think I'm just going to block in the whole body of it and then try to lay our pattern on. That's what I'm thinking. Plans can change. And I've got, as you can see, I kind of laid some value in here, so I've got a dark there already. And then again, I've got a couple raised areas there that, because they're raised, there's a shadow just behind them. And inside there, from here, is fairly dark. I kind of researched these little shaving mugs to see how they used them, and they weren't all the same. Of course, this one has the little, I can show it to you at the end if I remember, but it has a little divider in the middle and a raised area where they would have had their soap and ran their, you know, and then one, a lot of it had water in it, so they would have scrubbed up into there into their soap, I guess. Okay, I'm going to go into the lightest mixture I've made and go to the side of the cup that's catching the most light. And I am, as you can tell, probably going to get into some of this dark that I laid down, but we'll work it out. What's everybody painting? Tell me what you're painting. I just never get tired of it. I just love it. You know, and there's just always something to paint. And when I take a still life in the group and a few of us do it, it's interesting too, because we all do it so different, you know. Even painting the same objects, just what we choose to paint, the position where we stand, and I'm trying to see if there's any, like with glass, sometimes, you know, there's some real nice highlights, but I'm not seeing that really. Stopped in the gallery yesterday because I told you he extended the show till, I think it's the 30th. I pick it up, and we're still at 10 sales, which is wonderful. But he said there's been people in looking at it. Some people were like glad I extended it because they hadn't seen it. But definitely worth doing. I think it really helps to have a theme show too, because I'm getting a little bit darker now as I move away. I kind of lost my shadow there. I'm going to have to put it back in. And even though I'm showing, I have this very dark, it's not as dark in there as I have it in some places. I apologize if I mumble. I know I do that. It's like talking to yourself, kind of, you know, how you do. And like I said, I lost that shadow area behind that ridge. Not on purpose, but I did. So we'll kind of put it back in. Now I think we'll go, I've said this before, but when you mix three values like I did, you can go between and intermix, mix those into one another too. See, I don't want to be that dark over here, but I am going a bit darker, so I intermixed the dark and the mid-tone. I put this in a box today. You probably noticed that. There's another little kind of raised area here too. I have a lot of antiques. I like things, wood antiques, things that are kind of primitive and wood. All right, I'm going to get a little bit, nope, let me look here. I'm going to get a little bit lighter. It's lighter over here. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe the light reflected on the side of the box and back on. No, I do believe that's what it is, because it's in a box. The light's coming across and hitting this side and reflecting back on this side of the mug, I think. And this again is one of those things that we could turn upside down and check and make sure it's symmetrical. I'm looking again to see. You know, there's kind of a reflection here. Those areas seem to be catching more light, those raised areas. All right, let's look at the handle. You know, it's kind of tucked over here away, so it's not as and I'm trying to paint across it a lot, not just, you know, make a perfect round shape. It's an unusual handle. I may even have to get out a smaller brush. It's one thing nice about these flat brushes. You can, you know, turn them on the edge and get a pretty good line out of them. forgot to mention last time that one of the gals that watches me on the channel came to the opening. I was so honored. Teresa. I was just shocked when I walked in. She came from Indiana, and it was her day out, and it was so sweet. I don't know how impressed she was with our little town. I mean, you know, I like it because I grew up here, but it's just a few blocks, really, you know. Like, you know, 3-block radius probably. But, you know, you get off on the side streets and there's a lot of old houses, which is what I like, you know. Yeah, we can clean up that handle too when we paint our background in. All right, let's move on. I think we'll go ahead and get some of the brush blocked in. It's kind of yellow. You know, yellow and white. The tip is catching the light, most light. The handle actually is, this brush part's a little warmer, so I have to, we'll put a little transparent red oxide in it because it's a little warmer. It can be whatever I want probably, right? Who would know? Okay, I'm looking at it, it gets a little darker over there as it moves away from the light, so let's get a little darker, like on this part of it. And then there's actually like a little black ring around it. So we use our transparent red and our ultramarine, mix up something pretty dark. You know, we could even take our scraper, which I might in the end, and scrape into that some. We'll see. Okay, when we get back closer to the handle, gets a little lighter and it kind of splays out like that. You know, I'm seeing some of these. And it gets dark around the base, we'll have to do that. I think everything is fun to paint, you know, it's all a challenge. You know, try not to overthink it and, you know, just paint it. This is kind of ribbed. I feel like I want to go dark for the background. You know, they're antique objects, and I think the mug would stand out more. So we'll mix our ultramarine and our transparent red oxide, but maybe a bit more transparent red oxide so it's warmer. And I do have a shadow back there. Yeah, the box is obviously not real dark. So let's lay the shadow in first. It's a weird shadow I've got here. You know, it all depends on where you put the light. If I had the light up higher, it's like, it comes in like right here and goes kind of straight across. You know, it's not the most interesting shadow. I'm wondering if I ought to move the light, if I could move it up a little bit. Give me a second. I think I'm going to try that. So you need to think about everything, don't you? Even the shadows. I'm bringing a stand over here, and I'm going to move the light over and clip it on there. Sorry about that. Thought I had it all figured out. Now I have a shadow. Now I'm kind of lit from above, and all I'm seeing is a shadow for the handle. I think somewhere in between would be nice. I'm over here just holding it in my hand and moving it around, trying to figure out what I like. If I get way down low, then the shadow obviously shoots up high behind it. It's tricky, isn't it? Well, I'm going to put it back basically where it was because, you know, I don't want to change the lighting that I have on the mug. So we'll just see how it goes after all that. Boy, this brush is almost too big to get into these little holes. Not that I want it perfect, but you know, I don't mind if some of my orange shows through. This one, as you can see, I had this one toned already with just orange instead of my usual orange and kind of pink color. The orange can be nice in a landscape too if you have trees in the distance. You know, you want to, and you can scratch into there and kind of expose some of the orange. It's like light on your tree trunks. A lot of people use burnt sienna, which is, you know, an orange. I've done that too. I'm going to kind of put in what I see, which I was complaining about. We'll see how in the end it works. Just like a little nub in there. Is that a word? Nubbin. That's kind of, well, approximately the shadow. Now I think I'm going to lighten it a little bit because I want it to be different than, you know, I want the shadow to feel different. I didn't mix that very well either, so I don't mind mixing on the canvas somewhat too. I'm kind of mixing back into this, as you see. I was talking to a gal about painting and just about, you know, so much of it's instinctive. You just, it is for me. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly plan everything out ahead because things happen and, or things work or they don't work, or so I make decisions as I go. I think that's kind of how it should be. I know watercolorists have to definitely plan a lot more than oil painters, and you can't adjust things as much as we can. It's probably why I couldn't be a watercolorist. I just, you know, I don't know if I have the patience either. Looking at the shape of this, that goes out a little further than that area. I may come back and work on that back there a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how it feels. All right, this looks like it goes about right in there. So, and I'm going to use the same mixture as I used up here, and going to lighten it a lot. I'm going to warm it up with some yellow, and I'm going to try that for down here. Of course, I got into some of that, which is okay. There is a bit of a shadow that runs across there that I want to put in. Let's get into the, I'm almost setting below the setup, which is kind of unusual for me. As I look across, it's like the bottom of the mug is above my eye level. I normally wouldn't, you know, be so low. So this shadow, my point is, this shadow is even hard for me to see from where I am. But, you know, you've got to assume there's a shadow. I'm sure there is. And then we'll ground that a little bit better. I hope you're enjoying this subject. I am. It's kind of delicate, and, you know, too light back in there? I was just trying to explain the shape a little more. All right, let's see if we can suggest some of the pattern on it. It's little pink flowers. Kind of just putting in the lighter parts of it first. You know, and this is one of those things, they're tiny, it's a tiny little delicate pattern. I mean, you could get out your liner brush or whatever worked for you, I guess. But I'm thinking I don't want to do that. Or a palette knife would create a little tiny edge too. I'm going to mix up just a little bit of purple because I like purple. There are some places I feel like I see it. You know, who's going to know if I've got this right or wrong? If it was a commission and it was, you know, grandpa's shaving mug, you'd have to get, you know, you'd really have to work on getting this pattern just right. And I would. Just trying to put some of these colors where I see them. I'm going to try, wait a minute, let me get my palette knife out. I do see a highlight right there. Oh, I was going to tell you, I thought this was pretty cool. The gentleman I paint with, I told you, just got back from the trip. He, I don't know if you use a maul stick. I have a cane up there, but I can't say I use it much. But he bought a back scratcher, has a little forked end on it, and it's adjustable, so it telescopes. So it would work like a tiny maul stick. I thought that was a great idea. It fits in the where he carries his brushes. It fits in there. He's got a little bag, and I thought that was a really good idea. Kind of suggesting a little bit of that gold that I see on the top. That to me feels too light, and the edge felt too hard. I don't want to lose all that orange in there. I kind of like it. I'm looking to see if I see any other. I am going to get a little liner brush out here and I mean, I don't want to get picky with this stuff, but I'm letting it splay out. I'm not getting, you know. All right, I'm squinting to see if I see any other highlights. You know, of course, this is really bright. These ridge places. I don't think that's necessary to make that feel like that ends there at all. You know, I want it to feel like it runs off. Whoa. There's a dark ridge there. Don't know if that helps or not. I'm feeling like these are too pure white. They should be more yellow. I mean, I want the highlight to be my lightest thing on there. So we're kicking those back a little bit. Like I was saying, you could, I'm not sure I'll like it, but you know, you could cut into that a little bit. All right, what do we think? I'm going to brighten this up a little bit right here. And I could scratch my name in or sign my name, I don't know yet. I'm feeling like that needs to go out a little bit. That feels better, more proportionate. All right, about 53 minutes. I like it pretty well, I think. Let me get up and I'll put a mat on it. Put you right in front of it so you can see what you think. Get you really close. I just kind of suggested the pattern. I didn't get real picky and actually paint little flowers. But I consider myself an impressionist, so you know me, I'm never going for photorealism. Not perfect, but all right, that cleans it up. I like old things, so I like it pretty well, I think. And I left a lot of the orange, see, peeking through all over. All right, so I'll look at it a while and see if I think it needs any changes. And oh, fun objects to paint. So, and I hope you enjoyed watching. And like and subscribe if you will, I appreciate that. Get you a little closer again. Always look better when you get framed. All right, you watch for me next time if you would, and like always, I'm telling you, like and subscribe if you haven't, please. Okay, thanks again. Thanks for taking time out of your day and joining me. I do appreciate that so much. All right, have a wonderful evening. Good night.